Oh, welcome back to another video. So, uh, I think that's next step. Get the radiator in. Um, I think that should go in pretty good. I got room. I know we're gonna have to route our hoses pretty crafty wise, strategic, so to speak, because I know we have our main engine cross member and stuff like that. So I think we're gonna have to come out underneath and do a U bend, maybe a S bend, something like that. We'll figure it out. So I think we're gonna get this in, get it kind of placed, make sure that the top of the tank will fit down and cover it. I was going to do a firewall because I was going to do a cooling fan, try to keep the heat and push everything through, but I don't have room for that fan. I was going to use some smaller fans, um, but then, by the time you start this up, drive it to where you need to drive it or run it down a strip or whatever like that, and then you stop it. I don't think it's going to get too hot. If it does, then I'll add some fans later. So I think I'm going to leave the fans off for now. Um, or if I get a little squirrely in our little top tunnel on the top that we have to make, maybe I'll recess a fan in there that sucks some air down to help push it out. But for right now, we're just going to get the radiator installed, figure out our hose routing, get all that kind of tied up and cleaned up. So that looks really good. Once that's done, then I can work on getting the tank to pivot and get our latches and stuff like that in for that. And then this whole little area right here will be good to go. So I think that's the next big step that we need to work on. So let's throw it in and see what we got. But I did get an all aluminum radiator. So this thing's pretty nice. Looks pretty good. It should at least be better than one of the stock radiators. So, all right, let's get at it. All right, I got the radiator in and centered. Had to trim out some of the bottom gusset to get it to go down. We're super flush right here, so it's not a big deal. We do stick up a little bit there. This is a little floppy, so I can move that how I need to. But we are going to have our little hoop kind of tunnel things through here. So this will just kind of determine where I have to cut this tank, the tank back here, and where I put the hoop. So not worried about that. That's just about as far down as I can get it at the bottom there. I actually trimmed off some of this mounting bracket here. So before I make mounts for this, I was just going to run from that bolt hole there to here and do something on the bottom. But I think I can utilize my little internal cage here, that bar that runs through here, which this is to be removable. So I have to put one of my removable clamps here, and then down here I'll get one removable. So that whole cage section can come out for putting the motor in and out. So like everything else, pause on the radiator so I can get the internal cage structure done. But I think I only really need to worry about this little section here because this will bolt back to this too and be removable. So I just need to get this little area here done. That way I can get on my mounts, and I should be able to run this bolt hole attachment to our actual support beam there, which will be good instead of having a bracket there and then another bar. Just kind of clean it up a little bit. But a nice little bit of room. And a bonus, since we have this support bar back through here, and where this sits off with our structure, we actually have about 2 3/4, 3 inches between this and the back of the seat because the seat's kind of slanted. So I did find a 6-volt fan, which was really hard to see if I could find a smaller one, but I think I'm gonna get a 12-inch and I'll mount it in there, and we can use a toggle to turn it on. Then there's peace of mind. I can turn it on all the time. So no, not a big deal. So heck yeah, feel good about that. All right, let's make some gussets, bars, removable cage skeleton thing. This is what I've come up with so far. I have some of our clamps that we used pretty much when we mounted our seat, but we're going to use one on this frame here, as you can see, with our bolts going in this way. So we'll weld these two together here. Then we have this tube here. These two will get welded together. This half will get welded to the frame. This half will get welded to the tube. Same thing down here. This tube will get welded to this piece. and then that will get welded to the actual frame. Actually, we don't even have to weld that to the frame. It'll just clamp on. So we'll have that there. That kind of gives us a good mounting point, which is that on the other side to mount like our gas tank or battery or something like that. I might see if I can fit the battery back here in a cage, possibly. I'm not sure yet, but this will give us good mounting lines here, and then that whole section here can unbolt and whoop, pop right off. So I'm going to go ahead and get tacks all on this side, so that's nice and secure, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side, get it tacked up, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, I have our support brace here cut and our rear one cut. I have our center hoop here, and then I have some of our disconnection clamps on the bottom. I went ahead and welded the back side of the clamp to the frame on each side. Now I'm going to just weld the tube to the top of this clamp on both sides. Then I'm going to take it apart and then weld the bottom of this tube to the bottom of the inside of this clamp piece here, so that's nice and strong. And then I can stick this part back together and do our two side braces and then cut our other two. And that'll kind of wrap that up. I did, which is good. I found a thinner 6-volt fan that I can put on between the seat and the radiator to do a pusher, and it pretty much hides it out of the way, which is good because I wanted to kind of keep that air going on there, you know. So that's cool. I was looking for one of the aluminum spun gas tanks that I could use for this, you know, kind of like the barrel style or whatever. But all the ones I could find, you know, they fit awkward or has a lot of wasted space. So I think the plan right now is I'm just going to build my own gas tank. It's going to be out of metal because I don't have a TIG for aluminum, and I've never TIGged aluminum, so I'll just have to seal the inside of it really well. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Then it'll be a custom kind of fit in, but we got to get all this stuff done first, so because this is tied off of our supports. All right, let's weld this bad boy up a little bit. All right, I'll hold that side. When I had it together, I welded the backside. When I did my initial tube, it went all the way to the frame rail. So I ended up cutting like a 1/4 inch, actually probably about 3/8 off of that. Then I came in here and I welded on the inside, so that's nice and sturdy. And then for our actual tube, we finished welding up here on the outsides here. And on the inside where I cut it short, I welded on the inside as well. So that's given welds on the top and on the inside. So then we'll just slide this back in, bolt this up, and then we can do our horizontals. All right, so now we can unbolt from here, unbolt the back clip from there, and from out here, and it should come off. We're going to go ahead and replicate this on the other side and move on. Well, I figured before I did the other side, I would unbolt it and just see how easy it came apart. And as soon as I started doing the first one, I was like, something just doesn't seem right. And then I realized with this bolted here, it kind of has to come, well, it can drop straight down. This part would have to pivot up to get away from this, but I can't pivot it because this one's wrapped around the pole or around this tube, which it is what it is. You make mistakes, you learn from them. So easy fix here is I'm just going to cut this here and then clean this off and then put the clamp here and then just do another little short tube here. So it'll unclamp from here and be able to just sit down in it. And then this will just, it'll be able to lift right out. So pain because I've already did it, but I caught it. I got an easy fix for it. So it is what it is. So let me do this and then clean this up and then we can just replicate the other side. Well, I've said from the beginning, you make mistakes. I made a mistake. It is what it is. It's fixed. So live and learn. But anyway, so I have the bottom of the clamp welded to this back tube, which is welded to our back strut. And then the top is welded to this one. So once we unbolt that and unbolt all these, it should just whoop right out. So glad I caught it now before I had everything done. But pretty easy fix, not a big deal. Our other side's gonna be pretty much the same as this, except for this bar, because we have our shifting linkage. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put one, if I'm gonna bend one to come through here. I think, I'm just wondering if I should just do like a tube through here to kind of triangulate it a little bit. I think that, did I go over that way too, like a triangle? Or is that just enough for this? And I can always add it later, so that's the plus. But I think I'm either going to do a tube through here, maybe a curved tube, just to kind of clean that up a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to go ahead and make the other front tube right here, this one right here on the other side, and I'm going to think about this part. We got our other piece cut over here. We need to weld that in. It's going to be the same as this side. That's part of the removable section. I also made this little bend here, just kind of stiffen up this corner here. I did think about putting another bar like this on this side. This kind of gets into the way, but I think what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to build my gas tank anyway. So I can just have a tab come off here for the gas tank to mount to. So that should work. Yeah. All right, let me get this tacked in and then we'll see what we can do. I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Since we got this whole section in now, you can see this is hard welded here. This is removable, hard welded, removable here on this side, in the front. Same thing with up here. So we unbolt those. We unbolt. Man, I can't even talk. We unbolt those. This whole little section right here will lift right out. That way we can get our engine transmission in, and still gives us some stability. Like I said, future, I think we're going to build us a gas tank for right here, kind of contour it, make that kind of a good little spot. But we had to get this in so we can make our mounts for our radiator. You can kind of see this hole here. So we'll end up having a mount that comes off of this to bolt to that, to keep that from going back and forth. And then down here at the bottom, underneath this is kind of got a little lip, kind of an edge. So we'll probably have a piece of metal there. I don't know about that part yet. But I'm going to get these two sides done, so that's fixed. And we can kind of go along with the radiator. Did run into a little issue here. We are really close. I know this sits below the top of the tank, but regardless, pretty much this section here is going to be our cutout anyway, that we're going to have our headrest kind of air scoop section that we're going to build to go onto that. So that'll be hidden. I'm not worried about that. We are close here on our radiator hoses, to that belt, to this. I don't know if you can kind of see that or not. Let's try this side. It's pretty close to that belt. And then down at the bottom, we have our outlet here, but we do have our cross member down there as well to this mount here. So we're pretty much going to go from there here underneath the cross member, probably loop up somehow and do like an S pattern. I have an assortment that I've got to kind of figure out what I need to do. If I need to cut some of these down, different angles, some couplers, some U-bends, some 45s or 90s. So I figure out all this, I can make something work. I mean, worst case, I have to use the old flexi tubes, which I mean, they work. They just don't look as cool, I think, but we'll figure out one way, because I can barely get that to go, but that might work, to attach to the bottom section. And then right here, we'll have a coupler with the other U-bend that'll go into the output, or the outlet. Yeah, it'll go into the output shaft of the water pump area or whatever. So that's just trial and error. We'll figure that out. Okay. Okay. I did make a quick little support stand, so we get rid of our big strap that was out here kind of holding it up, that we can kind of use. So I just got some of my 1-inch tube. I put one of the little cane ends on this end. The top, put another one, but the rod is pushing against this little gusset piece here. And on the back side, we put this one of the old U-shaped clamps for like conduit or something like that. So yeah, that should work pretty well. So I found the little 6-volt fan. We're going to squeeze it into here. I tried to get it to go center, but I'm just so tight on my tolerances for my seat and to that, so we're going to have to offset it kind of the side. I think I'm going to kind of favor the right side instead of the left. That way it's kind of hidden out of the way, since the left side's the main entrance and access to the tank. So kind of show you what we got there. So you can kind of see from this side, if you're out here, if you're from out here on this side, you really can't even see the fan hiding back there. This is the main side that people get in on. Probably the main side that people will come over to take pictures on and stuff, just because this bar is over here. But yeah, I think it's kind of out of the way. It looks clean that way. We'll go with it. So like I said, we got the fan kind of on this side here. It's not secured. I just have it on with a Turatech strap. But once it's pushed up, we do have clearance, so we're not hitting the seat or anything like that. That will at least give us some air to push through the radiator. I would like it to be centered, but obviously we don't have the room. And like with everything else on this, you don't always get you what you want, but I think it kind of works out for the best. No reason to really overcomplicate this. I took some 1-inch bar that I had, drilled a hole in it, and just did a slight little bend in the vise and rounded off the edges. What we're going to do is stick it in, see where we line up, see if I need to bend it anymore. That's tight there. And we are Perfect like that. So I just need to mark where I want to cut this. There. And there. So we'll cut that. And then we'll just throw a weld right up through the top there. And that's going to keep that from moving. And then I'll go ahead and make one for the other side. For our bottom mount, you can kind of see our outside brace here runs straight down. At the very bottom down here on the inside, it's almost like a T. There's a piece that goes over this way because the tank angles, kind of like this angle here. But there's like a little triangle wedge that wedges in between this outside piece and the brace underneath. So we'll kind of go a side profile. This is the outside here. You can see the underside there. The radiator goes this way. So what I'm going to try to do is make a bracket kind of like this. That's got a little wedge, and now I'm going to notch out a piece in here that will cut through that. So when the radiator comes down to sit it in there, it's going to sit in that pocket. Now, I don't have that out. This is just kind of to show you, but it'll kind of sit like that. So then the radiator can't go back and forth this way, but it'll wedge into that, and then I'll probably put some little rubber sleeves or something on that. So I'm going to go ahead and bend one of these up, and then I'll kind of show you what we got going on. Now you can kind of see our angle here. I'm going to go ahead and do a little notch right here in the middle. Now I got that little notch in there. That's going to go into our little brace so it can't go back and forth. And then on each one of these two ends right here, I'm going to take some of this edge trim that I have, and I cut two little small pieces that will stick on the end here, like that one, and like that one. So then now when this goes down, it'll lock into that little tab, and then this is going to protect any rubbing from the metal and the aluminum. So I got it cut to length. We'll stick it in and weld it, and then this will get welded to the top of our actual frame, and then we might put a little gusset in there, but I think this will work. All right, so you can kind of see our angle here. We're going to go down, and we're going to slide it across the rail until we find where our groove's at, and then we're just going to pull this up, and that's where we're going to end up welding it. So I know we're about right here in the middle. And let's see, I'm trying to see here. Oh, that's it right there. I got it hooked. So yeah, pretty much right dead center. So we'll run a weld across to this, and then we'll probably end up, once we get better access, we'll probably do a little gussets, but this will hold it for now. Well, I don't know about where you all are at, but it's been so hot. It's miserable. Whew. All right, well, radiator's in. I feel good about that. It's braced up. It looks good. I got a fan in there. I know I've been trying to stick to the 30s, 40s, 50s era type thing, and I know they didn't have that type of fan back then, but it's hidden out of the way. I didn't want to sacrifice that part of it, and I didn't have room for one of the mechanical ones. So yeah, I think it looks pretty awesome. Let's see. I guess really, I'm going to get to the next video. I think I need to start working on the rear tank, the top tank of it. I need to cut out a little bit bigger of an area for our radiator. It might be close, but I think it's going to be touching just a little bit. And then I'm going to try to work, after I get that mounted, I think I'm going to work on the tilt for that. So that can tilt up as well for easy access. And then I'm probably going to try to start working on the little headrest type area, air scoop section that comes back through this part. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to work on that. So, but that's coming up. I know we still have to do like the gas tank and mount the battery. I got all that kind of stuff here. It's just a matter of getting it done. The coolant hoses, I'm not going to get into that in this video. I could probably cut them and sit them there, but I don't want to use clamps to make sure everything's right and then, you know, mess up my hoses. So that's just a little trial and error cutting. But we'll do that later on once we're a little bit closer. Final assembly, we know engine's not going anywhere and the radiator's not going anywhere. It's just a matter of routing our hoses. So, whew, man, I mean, it looks like something. I'm digging it. I love it. So I guess with that, I appreciate you all keep coming back and watching these. If you would share the videos with your friends and ask them to subscribe, kind of help us grow a little bit. We're just itching up slowly. So I do appreciate it. And I'll see you all hopefully next Friday. I know there's been a little delay. That's been the heat and a job, real job. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you next Friday. If not, it'll be the Friday after that. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Thank you.